Hello and what is up, YouTube? My name is G3Iron and I'm coming to you from my new office, from new work, and from new jobs to prep you for a new league and a new expansion in the upcoming 3.13 Ritual League, accompanied by Echoes of the Atlas. There's already a ton of information out. We got patch notes super early this league cycle, which is great for everybody who's been checking out different starter builds and making decisions early on in the week about what they would like to kickstart their Ritual League by playing. So today, rather than give you another amalgamation of other builds that you might want to check out, that's going to be coming later on in the week, I thought we would go over a couple of different tips and tricks by discussing 4 truths and 4 lies about starter builds. As we begin chatting about the next 4 truths about starter builds, please keep in mind that these are general truths, general observations. There are always going to be exceptions to these general principles. So if you'd like to be a super special person and want to poke holes in these generalities, feel free to do so down below in the comments. But these are, again, widely ranged, or a spectrum of range of truth built into each of these statements that hopefully help you along in your search for a starter for 313. All right, I can already hear some of you saying, "Oh, Iron, just shut up and get on with it." All right, so here's truth number 1. Truth number 1 is that a good league starter build will scale into maps. Your league starter build needs to be able to scale into maps. There have been several different build guides that I've had the privilege of reading through over the course of this week and in leagues previous that will say something akin to the following. The build that you are now reading is an exceptionally strong build, especially when you push into white maps. You will need X, Y, and Z as you continue to progress into yellows, and red maps you'll need this endgame gear in order to truly progress and fill out your atlas. Whenever I read something like that, I scream inside a little bit. How on earth could you offer this build as a starter build if it needs X, Y, and Z to push into yellow and red maps? It's a league start. Nobody has X, Y, and Z, and we don't even have completions yet for yellow and red maps. So of course we're going to need to be able to push into those things. Angry geriatric G3 Iron aside, your starter build needs to be able to scale into maps. If you know, or if you can find in a comment section of a YouTube video or of a forum guide anywhere, if you know for a fact that a build is not going to be able to push into maps, that should be a red flag for you. If, however, a build is able on budget gear to push and progress onto the Atlas through white, yellow, and red maps, and even sometimes take on endgame bosses with budget gear, then you know you have found a wonderful league starter option. Number 2 is that your league starter build should be able to tackle your early league goals. What are your league goals in general? You might need to have a discussion with yourself, kind of like what I do sometimes, where you'll need to actually address what your league goals are for the overarching 313 Ritual League. Maybe you want to kill Cirrus for the first time at Awakener level 8. Maybe you want to take on the Maven. Maybe you want to do a whole bunch of harvest crafting now that it's back. Maybe you want to get back into a flow of just going on heists and grand heists. Whatever your goals are for the league, your league starter needs to be a springboard for you to capture various amounts of currency and items to then launch you into the rest of your goals for the league. Third truth about league starter builds, and I almost never hear players talking about this, is that the league starter that you choose needs to be able to produce reliable results, right? If something happens once, okay, great, you got lucky. If something happens twice, okay, maybe lightning can strike twice, but now we're getting somewhere towards consistency. And then 3 or more times on a league start for a reliable league build, that is a reliable, proven league starter. Unless there's some kind of major patch note that comes through that absolutely murders the build, you know you've got yourself a reliable league starter. I can already hear some of you down below in the comments just screaming, "Oh, but Iron, what about the new thing that I want to try that's just coming out this league, or this new skill that's coming out, or these tweaks to this ascendancy that I haven't played in ages?" Okay, you can do that. Remember that these are general principles. Occasionally there are things that will be new, that will emerge as a new option for reliable league starting. But the reality is for the vast majority of us, that's not the case. There are exceptions, and sometimes a new league starter will crop up that is reliable and strong. Would you rather risk your league start on testing a build that maybe hasn't been proven yet, or that maybe hasn't been tested in this particular league environment? Or would you rather go with something that you know is going to work, Play it for the first week or so, however much time you've got to dump into your league start, and then allow that to springboard you onto a successful rest of your league. Now, a moment here about fun. Some of you have heard me say this in the past. Please, please, please always prioritize fun. So, if you think that you've got a build that is going to be fun to play and you enjoy playing it, even if it doesn't produce reliable results, well, that's okay. Just recognize that it might not produce those reliable results, and you may have actually chosen fun over reliability and consistency. If that's something that you're willing to do, then I two thumbs up wholeheartedly commend and recommend you to do that. Fourth truth is that your league starter build needs to be able to adjust and adapt to the league mechanic. One particular example of this was, of course, during Harvest League. During Harvest League, we had access to a ton of very, very powerful crafting. As Harvest is going core, we're going to have access to some of that again. Let's say you play a particular build that relies on some uniques. Maybe they're even very, very common uniques, so you don't have to worry about their drop frequency or not even getting them. If you're reliant on a ton of uniques for your particular build, then that means that a league mechanic that is going to be more oriented towards crafting rares is going to be less helpful for you. The actual league itself is looking to be a monster kill focused league. So, is your league starter capable of taking on multiple different hordes of bad guys all at the same time? Echoes of the Atlas as an expansion, of course, promises a lot of boss killing. You might want to ask yourself if your league starter can tackle those various bosses that you might be progressing on as you progress through the new endgame expansion. Or you might want to ask yourself, hey, can my build be adapted or even maybe change ascendancies and change the build around once I get enough currency to then deal with Echoes of the Atlas, with Maven, and with various endgame ritual encounters. We talked about some general truths about league starters. Let's talk about some lies. Now, these are lies that we tell ourselves as players, that we convince ourselves of as players. We say to ourselves all the time, no, I am the exception to the rule. I've heard horror stories about how league starters can go bad, or about how my friend or an ex-guildmate or somebody I watch on a stream did such and such as a league starter, and they had a hard time doing that thing. But you know what? It's not going to happen to me. I'll follow that same strategy, but I'm going to expect different results. Those are some of the ways in which we convince ourselves that general truths and general principles that are helpful actually won't be helpful to ourselves. So be aware and be on the watch in your own thinking and in your own thought processes about your league starters about these following 4 lies. Lie number 1. We tell ourselves, I just need this unique and everything in the build will come together. I have talked to several different players from the last couple of leagues who have been trying to play Golemancers, and they were just saying, oh, all I need to do is just get these various unique jewels into these spots and then swap over a few things and then craft a few cluster jewels, and away I go. All right, the more times you have to say if in relationship to your league starter, the worse league starter chances you have to be successful. That's just a general statement. All right, the more times you find yourself saying, if I just get this, that means that you don't have a reliable plan to actually produce consistent results as you progress through the 10-act story and through maps towards the endgame of Path of Exile. Lie number 2 is similar to lie number 1. I just need X amount of currency and then everything will come together. This is kind of a variation of number 1, but it's different enough that I've segmented it off into a different spot, because oftentimes builds and players will simply say, oh, you know what? My league starter isn't reliant on X unique or on obtaining a specific unique in order to make a specific mechanic function or at the proper threshold, etc. Whether that's a conversion-based build or whether that's some other build that's looking for conditional factors to come into play to make the build come together. Oftentimes, rather than just relying on that for uniques, players will come up with some iteration of that, but it's currency, right? Players won't necessarily know what actually makes the build tick. Exactly how much increased damage do I need to have until my damage is strong enough to clear through maps in the timetable that I want to clear? Exactly what sort of more multipliers do I need to be looking for in order to make sure that I can take down that boss during that act or that boss during this encounter in endgame maps? This is a lie that we tell ourselves. We convince ourselves, oh, well, if I just have enough currency to be able to throw at my league starter, it'll fix whatever problems are there. And while sometimes that's true, if you've got enough currency, oftentimes you can fix problems. The whole point of a league starter is that you don't have currency yet. Your league starter is the mechanism, it's the springboard, it is the way by which you are going to accrue currency to then make choices later on down the league. Don't wait for the currency to come to you. You go get it with a reliable, proven league starter rather than simply hoping that lightning will strike twice for you and you'll get a tabula to drop and then a second tabula that you can sell. Don't rely on that. Don't lie to yourself saying, I just need X unique or I just need X amount of currency. The third lie that we convince ourselves of is that the new mechanic, whether that's a buff to an ascendancy, whether that's a buff to a unique, whether that's a new unique that's coming out on release, a new divination card that opens up a new trading strategy, or if that's simply a new league mechanic in and of itself, will be guaranteed to be OP. That is simply not the case. Oftentimes, when it comes to skill gems, Grinding Gear Games typically has a 2 out of 3 ratio track record. You can correct me down below in the comments if you think that's off. Usually, at least going by my memory, which is bald and geriatric, but usually basically 2 out of every 3 gems that comes out needs a rework, needs a tweak, needs a buff before it's going to be considered strong. And that's in ideal circumstances, mind you, ideal circumstances, not in a league start environment. Oftentimes, league starting with a new skill or a new buffed ascendancy or a new reworked ascendancy is a risk in and of itself. So I'm going to say again, if you think that's going to be fun and that's what you're going to prioritize, having fun trying something out and experimenting rather than having a proven reliable league starter, okay, go for it. Don't let anybody, including slightly balding bearded people, tell you how to have fun with your hobby time. Go have fun and enjoy your special snowflake opportunity to play a new skill in a new league mechanic with a newly released unique with a newly tweaked ascendancy. Go have fun. Don't expect to do those things, though, and for them all to work out as a proven, reliable league starter. There have been countless, I'm serious, countless, like every single league, a new skill, a new mechanic, or a new buff comes out, and players are saying, oh, this is going to be the new OP. And a lot of players, unfortunately, fall for it. They try to league start with it, and then they feel like they've simply fallen behind in their league goals. And a lot of players drop off if their league starter is not successful. So if you want to have a good time and have a long league where you're playing a ton of Path of Exile and enjoying every moment of it, it's important for you to avoid that lie that the new thing is going to be OP with no gear and no currency to get things started off with. The fourth and last of our lies today that we tell ourselves is, I'll just wing it. It'll be okay. Yeah, I mean, maybe, probably not. No. Oftentimes we tell ourselves, well, you know what? I've seen so and so say, I'm just a last minute person. Or, you know what? I don't really like to plan things out. Okay, let's be honest with ourselves. We're Path of Exile players here, right? We play Path of Exile. We download things like Path of Building. We have websites like POE Lab bookmarked on our tab. We go and we watch bald people with beards give us their opinions and share their insights into the game. We do so much research and preparation before we even begin playing Path of Exile, right? Like we read patch notes for hours and comb through copious amounts of changes and notes and buffs and nerfs. We read forums about it. Like we spend almost, maybe some of us do, spend more time outside of the game thinking about the game than we do inside the game playing the game. Don't think, yeah, I'll just wing it. It'll be okay. I don't need a POB. I don't need a plan. I'll just, you know what? Whatever hits me right before the league start, I'll just click a character and we'll run with that. That is a serious, serious recipe for disaster. Maybe there's a couple of you out there who can actually do that, but for the vast majority of players, you can't do that. You can't do that and have a successful league starter by your own standards. Oftentimes I'll see comments in our Discord or here on YouTube or on Reddit or on the forums from players who simply say they had a bad league start and they had to swap over because they tried to wing it or they tried to theory craft something on their own, something that wasn't proven, and there you go away from there. What a bummer of a league start. Avoid these 4 lies and avoid telling yourself that you'll just wing it and you'll have a much, much better shot at having a reliable, strong league start that springboards you into a wonderful and exciting enjoyment of 3.13 Ritual League. Thanks so much for joining us for today's discussion about 4 truths and 4 lies about league starters. I would love to hear down below what truths or lies you would like to share with the community to be aware of as the community is making decisions about 313 Ritual League and the starters that we will choose. Are there particular experiences or general principles that you have found to be very helpful? Let us know down below in the comments. And the same is true as well. What lies do you convince yourself of the night before, the day of a new league start where you simply say, yeah, I can wing it, or, well, maybe this build will work if I just get this lucky thing to drop for me? Just a comment down below, and I'd love to hear your thoughts and your feedback as always. Thanks for joining us once again, and I hope upcoming 313 Ritual League is the league a Mirror of Calandra drops for you.